Well, welcome back to Maui and to War Memorial Field here with Sean McVay. I'm JB Long as we wrap up Maui camp, thanks to the Hawaii Tourism Authority. And Sean, it's been so great to see your players give so much.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about that, and then a little bit later on what you hope they take away from this experience.
Yeah, I think the first thing, like you just said, these guys understand what a blessing it is to have the platform to really be able to impact and influence positive change and to take advantage of getting good quality time here in an unbelievable setting. But also, you see the guys, they take the time to sign autographs. They're just so engaging with the fans, and people have been so welcoming and accommodating, and we knew we weren't going to get a whole lot of football accomplished. We were realistic about that, but what we did get was a chance to be as end the offseason the right way in terms of the connection, the vibe. You get a chance to see a lot of players, families, which is really special, coaches, families, and so it's been awesome. I think it's a real credit to just the caliber of people we have in our locker room and the character of the young men and how they positively pour into one another. And it's a really fun group. I'm looking forward to enjoying a little bit of time, but it's been a really good off season. I think guys are excited about the opportunity to come together as a team, and we'll see where that thing goes when we report on the 22nd of July.
Great crowd today here in person. The open to the public practice, the second of two sessions for your Rams. You may have seen the announcement that the Rams are rebuilding the locker rooms at Lahaina Luna High School, which is so cool. Poured into Habitat, Humanity, and so much. Are you a believer that the bonding that you invest in this time of year can bear dividends down the road in the season?
I don't think there's any question about it. What I think is cool, too, is I don't think those things can be forced. I think it's got to, occur authentically and organically. I think what's great about this locker room, JB, and you know these guys as well as I do, it's a bunch of different personalities, but there's a similar core values and principles in terms of who they are, how they move, what they're about as a human being, most importantly. And I am a big believer that better people make better players. Better people make better coaches, and so they enjoy being around one another. I do think this has a chance to be a really cool, connected group, and where you're really intentional about building and developing relationships that last, and that gives you real purpose. And like we were talking about before we get on here, being around the families, just gives you a different insight to watching how these guys are, most importantly leading their households, and that's pretty cool to see.
You see the ingredients here early in this team to be great?
I think that here's what I would say is I'm very optimistic about what our chances to be able to come together and to be able to impact each other in a positive way. And you know as well as I do, want to be able to hopefully stay as healthy as we possibly can. But I think the way that these guys are impacting one another, the way that we're impacting each other, I think it's got a chance to be a really special group. And I feel like I say it almost every year where you're as excited as you've ever been, but there's a lot of real reasons to feel that way. And we're looking forward to swinging, and I think, kind of like we ended the last season, there was a lot of things guys can be proud of. We know every year's a new year, but there's a lot of special people that I think give you a chance, because it's all about people, and when you got the right people, now how do we come together, and we're looking forward to that.
Sean, how validating is it as a head coach to have someone of Davante Adams' experience come in and say, I feel rejuvenated by the culture I'm experiencing here in LA?
It's so cool, and that's what you want. I think we talk about it as coaches all the time. How do we make sure these guys leave excited about coming back the next day? How do we cultivate an atmosphere and environment that, hey, it's hard work, and to be able to do special things that are worthwhile. It doesn't mean it's always easy, but it can be enjoyable in the midst of that. And so we're always trying to strike that balance of urgency and enjoyment. For Davante to say that means the world to me, because of the respect and admiration I have for him as a person, as a player. Really glad that he's in our locker room. He's made a tremendous impact already, and I think he feels appreciated, and I know that the guys feel appreciated by the way that he moves and the way that he's pouring into guys and just being a great teammate himself.
This is an annoying question I ask you every time this time of year, but can you name drop a little bit? Our fans, I know, would love to hear who stood out in the spring, granted that you're not tackling to the ground.
Yeah,
pads on.
It's such a good question. There's so many guys. Obviously Davante was a real bright spot. Puka was. I think Tutu Atwell's ready to really ascend, take the next steps. Matthew was outstanding. Those are kind of the normal cast of characters. It's really great to get Coleman Shelton back. His command, his ability to elevate and uplift those around him, I think that's been really special. On the defensive side of the ball, man, I think B.Y. and Verse did an excellent job. But, Brennan Jackson's a guy that really stood out that maybe, we're excited about seeing where he can go with his game. It was great to be able to get Braden Fisk back out there. Puna Ford, the signing looks, really fruitful. Kobe's going to continue to be a great leader. I would think when you look at the back end, a couple guys that really stood out, and really the back seven, Nate Landman's a guy that we're really excited about.
Okay.
His leadership, his presence, think he's going to do a really nice job for us. That was a good signing for us, being able to get him from the Falcons. There's some familiarity having Jimmy Lake here. Emmanuel Forbes' name keeps coming up. He's a guy that's really, Aubrey Pleasant does such a great job with those guys, but I've been really pleased with him. And then Cam Curl's ownership going into the second year with us. Those are a couple of the guys. But, it seems coaching cliche, but, we could really go down the roster. And I was really pleased because I think everybody took a step in the right direction. And there's only so much you can do, like in those settings, but we were able to impact and make some improvements and some strides in areas that we could focus on that you feel good about, while also knowing that, hey, the real work starts when we can put those pads on after the 5-day acclimation period.
And to that point, when we see you again at LMU for training and camp, how much of a concern is Alaric's most recent situation, and is it fair to say that the depth chart at tackle, be it starters or swing, is a question mark the Rams have to answer between now and the season?
There's no doubt. I think the first thing is you feel for him as a human being, because he earned the right to get the contract that he got based on a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of dedication, a lot of ability to overcome and persevere through some challenging things, and also to be able to be steady and humble in some of the good things that he's really been able to experience. So, number one, I'm really glad that we're going to get that under control. You go back to the 22 season, and he's been the last couple years, no issues, but you can't be smart and safe enough with something like that. So it is a concern. I think the first thing is let's just get him right as a human being, get him healthy, and then we'll talk about football, when he's ready to be able to talk about that. And I'll follow the doctors and obviously Alaric's kind of direction and where he's feeling, but we're taking it a day at a time. There are some question marks there, and no doubt about it. He was a big priority for us to re-sign in free agency, and now there's some uncertainty as it relates to exactly what his status will be. I know he's got the right mindset and mentality, but to be able to get a guy like DJ Humphries, who we know we've played against, and then to be able to get David Quessenberry, to have Warren McClendon, I look at him as a guy that's really got a chance to ascend. When he did play last year, I thought he did a really nice job. Rob was out for the spring, but that tackle position is something that we'll be looking to really see and solidify. And every single year there's inevitably going to be some storms. How we handle that will be a separator for us, and we're looking forward to handling it the right way.
As for the rookies, when they report to training camp, do you forecast real meaningful roles on offense and defense for some of this class?
I think everything's going to be earned. What I will say is when you just look at the 6 rookies that we drafted, the 3 guys on offense, Kanate ended up, getting a hamstring, but he started off really strong. He's a guy that I think has position flex. He's wired to separate. When you look at Jarquez Hunter, he's a guy that's hard to evaluate in the spring, the running back position, but made positive strides under Ron's leadership. Kyron Williams did such a great job leading that room. I'm excited about Terrence Ferguson. I like his demeanor. I like his ability to learn from Scott Huff, from Tyler Higbee. He's a guy we expect to contribute and to be able to do some good things, but that's going to be earned. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I thought, the defensive linemen, both Ty and Josiah made positive strides towards the latter parts of the spring where you felt them flash. And then Pooh Paul's a guy that, got better and better. So there was improvement, but every role is going to be earned. You've seen, even some of these undrafted guys that maybe we didn't mention, they stood out, and everybody's going to have an opportunity to be able to go compete and go win a job and be able to, have a significant role for us if that's what's best for our team.
And finally, Sean, as we cut you loose for the summer, this is often the time of year when I ask, how are you doing personally and professionally as you prepare for year 9? What state of mind do you find yourself in?
Pretty, I feel really healthy. I feel very grateful to be able to go into year 9, and I think, continue to, as you're continuing to mature as a man, and different things are occurring in your life that I feel like when you apply what you're trying to be as a husband, as a father, oh, by the way, that also can help you be a better football coach and a better connector and build more meaningful relationships where you can really impact. And I'm really grateful for that. My little boy, Jordan, what a joy he is. My wife, Veronica, and I always talk about what was life like before him, because he's been such a blessing. You and I talked about it, man, and you knew. And I think it's changed you for all the right reasons. Yeah. And we'll be, we're having another little boy too. So we're pregnant with our second, and we're excited about that as well. So
many congratulations
that'll
and
be
blessings.
Fun.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Sean. And it's 81 days until liftoff
There
against
we go.
Houston. We are counting down the days. But in the meantime, thanks so much to everyone here at the Hawaii Tourism Authority that made this possible. War Memorial Stadium, a great 2 days of, should we say, work?
A great 2 days of enjoyment and ability to build relationships and keep making an impact on this community.
All right. For Sean McVay, I'm JB Long. Cannot wait to talk to you on the west side at Rams Camp.